What's up, Ravens fans? Today we want to continue our series of pre-draft analysis videos by discussing a topic that everyone loves to talk about. It's a possibility of a trade. Trading up, trading back. What's going to happen when the Ravens get to that first round? Well, are they going to make a move? I'll start with you, Cliff. Do the Ravens make a first-round trade?
I'm afraid that we will, as in trading back, which I think a lot of fans don't want to see. But I think it could make a lot of sense for the Ravens, particularly if, Queen and Murray are gone by the time you get to 28, knowing that the Ravens already have 2 second-round picks, and this is a deep draft. If they traded back and got into the second round again with 3 picks, I think they could do a lot of damage as far as getting guys who could start for them or play a lot for them next year in the second round. I think a lot of us would love to see them trade up this year, having the ammo to do it, to get a stud, one of those stud wide receivers, or make a splashier move. But the Ravens were 14-2 last year. Eric DeCosta has already said that he considers that type of move risky, and the Ravens are in a position where they don't have to make a risky move and will still return next season as being one of the top teams in the NFL. So I would say that, as we've seen in the past, there's a really strong chance that they're going to trade back.
Yeah, I think that the way the board falls, obviously Eric DeCosta is the master at finding value. So he can trade back 1 or 2 spots, 3 spots. It's not like it has to be a huge trade. I think that he could move back just a little bit or move up just a little bit. If I'm betting, I'm going to say that it's back. And I think that the Ravens obviously view this draft and the draft process as a whole as somewhat a game of luck. And the more picks you get, the more chances you have to hit good players. Look at Matthew Judon, the 5th round pick. So there's countless examples of late round picks for the Ravens that they got. You talk about, you trade back and you pick up a 5th or a 6th, and everybody says, oh, okay, whoop-de-doo. Well, those can sometimes turn into really great players. So I think the way that this board falls could present good value for Eric DeCosta to trade back. And let's be honest, Eric DeCosta loves to trade. I'll give you all of these goods on my shelves if Eric DeCosta does not trade at all.
Right. That's exactly right. He loves to make trades. He's going to make a trade. Can we just say that? There's going to be a trade. However, never does a year go by without it. He will do it. I think where you might see a trade up is day 2.
I agree. Second round.
I think that it happens all the time. Always trading up on day 2 to get somebody they want. And I think it's very possible, especially, they got those 2 picks in the second round. And, they're really, if they trade back, and they have an extra pick, even more, just all sorts of latitude to make moves. So I think there's guys they want. I think they can outsmart the process a little bit and get guys they want, maybe first-round grades in the second round, but you might have to trade up to do that. So I think that is a real possibility.
Well, the easy answer is what you guys have all said, which is trade back. And if I'm putting odds on it, I think that's most likely. I think that is more likely than trading up. But I'll give you a scenario where the Ravens could trade up. And I think that you just look at their history. And there's been times where they've talked about possibly doing it and discussed it and maybe even been on the phone and try to make it happen that ultimately decide against it because the price is too rich. But if there's a player who right now, when you look at the mock drafts, is going in the top 15, for example, and then all of a sudden it's 18, and then it's 19, and then it's 21, and that player's still on the board, and then everybody on the draft is saying, you got Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah saying, wow, I can't believe so-and-so's on the board. Just for example, take a guy like Clavon Chason, the pass rusher from LSU, who everybody, for the most part, thinks is the top 18 pick. If all of a sudden he's there in the early 20s, it would not surprise me at all if Eric DeCosta picks up the phone and says, hey, what's it going to take to move up a few spots? They actually considered this a few years ago, Marshawn Lattimore, the cornerback who ended up going to the New Orleans Saints. Everyone thought that year, this is a top 10 pick or a top 5 pick. He ends up kind of falling down a little bit. Now, of course, the Ravens decided against it. They ended up taking Marlon Humphrey. That worked out okay. They ended up getting a pretty good player. But my point is, sometimes there's a really good player who nobody thinks is going to start to slide. And that, I think, is when the Ravens are most likely to get on the phone. I don't think it's going to be a need move where they say, oh my gosh, we need one of these linebackers, go up and get, move up 7 spots to get Queen or Murray. I don't
that's
think
the question.
that's how it plays out. But if there's somebody who nobody expects to slide and starts to slide, then maybe that they get on the phone and try to work those trades.
Right. That's the question is, I think a lot of people want to know, would the Ravens move up to get Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen? And I think that answer is no. There's too many good defensive players that they can get at 28 or even after 28 to do that.
Yep.
It would take a special player, and I'm not even sure Clavon Chason is that guy. To me, it's one of those top 3 wide receivers if somehow, and I don't think there's any, I think there's a 1% chance of this, but for one of them to come tumbling down, I don't think it's going to be any of those defensive players, to be honest, that's going to be good enough and fall far enough to entice the Ravens to move up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think it would only be, I agree with you, Ryan, it would only be for one of those wide receivers. They've identified one guy, they don't let you know what they're thinking, but one guy they said, this is the guy, and we can just plug him in there for years, maybe. But, I don't see it. It goes back to what Cliff said at the beginning, I mean, this is a 14-2 team. You don't have to make a desperation move. You just don't have to do it. Be very careful with what you're doing. I mean, Eric DeCosta's aggressive. They will be aggressive, but I just don't see, like a 3-for-1, giving up 3 picks for 1. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Hey, look, the Ravens have 9 picks right now. I think by the time draft weekend is over, we might be talking about them having 10, 11, 12 picks. That would not surprise me at all. So that means that we're going to be busy over the course of the next few days. You guys got to get those type-in hands ready. Lots of articles coming out about all the picks that the Ravens are going to have. And we want you guys to know about the virtual draft experience we have planned throughout draft weekend. It's going to be an incredible way to experience this draft. We've got some really interactive things planned, including a live Q&A with our top pick on Friday. Also, every day after that round of the draft, we're going to live stream our press conference with John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta and Joe Ortiz. And you're going to get a chance to submit questions that could potentially be asked to those guys. Mink doesn't have any good questions, so we figured we would just open it up to you guys to see if you can ask some questions to the decision makers.
Fair. Fair.
You'll have a chance to do that because these guys couldn't come up with any. So thanks for watching, and make sure you check out the virtual draft experience, all 3 rounds of the draft later this week.